Hi, thank you for joining me today. In this video, what we're going to be doing is discussing what you would need to do when adding a suffix that happens to begin with a vowel to the end of a multisyllabic word. In an earlier video, we discussed about what you would need to do when adding a suffix that also ends, or rather begins with a vowel, to a word that ends in one syllable. All right, there are a few components to this that we will need to know as we dive into it. However, I did want to go over a few core concepts before we go any further. The first being, one, we have to figure out what a suffix is. Put simply, a suffix are letters that you attach to the end of a base word to change its meaning or to change its tense, meaning past, present, or future. Great. All right, now, we're also going to talk about what a syllable is, or what a syllable is, how to identify it, so that we have a better frame of what we're talking about. The first being, a syllable, put simply, are the breaks that a word makes as you read them naturally. There's a really neat trick that you can use to identify the number of syllables and where those syllables exist in a word simply by reading the word aloud and then, of course, clapping it, as it were, out as you read that word. Let's go over a few examples together just to kind of give you an idea of what it is I'm talking about. All right, now the first word that you should see on your screen is the word adventure. Here, I'll go ahead and read the word again and then clap it out to listen for those breaks. So adventure is the word, adventure. I'll say it again, adventure. I count 3. And just to be clear, we're going to go ahead and mark those so that we can visualize it. So adventure. I count 1, 2, 3. Each of these portions are said separately, but combined, obviously, it makes the word adventure, which, of course, you would say more naturally. We'll check to see celebrate. How many syllables is in the word celebrate? Same process. You're going to read the word aloud and clap out the sounds you hear, or the breaks you hear. Celebrate. Again, celebrate. I count 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and try it with the word chocolate, a favorite, among others. All right, chocolate. Chalk is the first sound I hear, and then O seems to be on its own, let. So 1, 2, 3, and then bear in mind, you'll see that the lines are running through the letters. It's not my intention to strike them at all. It's just the nature of the zoom in, zoom out effect. It's very thick, and so it does overlap. All right, favorite, same process. Favorite. I'm seeing a pattern. 1, 2, and 3. I don't know what my obsession was with the 3-syllable words, but anywho. Syllable. Let's see if I can erase that effectively. Yes, I can. Perfect. All right, syllable. All right, also 3 syllables. And again, this same activity, or rather the same strategy, this clapping strategy, you can apply to any word. Feel free to practice it yourself. Okay, now that we've covered what a suffix is, and again, these are going to be letters that you attach to a base word to change its meaning or to change its tense. And we talked about syllables, how to identify them. We're going to go ahead and move on into what this rule actually is. And I'll zoom in really quick. We're talking about doubling a consonant, or the final consonant of the word, when you would need to do that when adding a suffix, because it doesn't always need to be done. And of course there will be exceptions to the rule we're learning, right? You just have to be wary of that. But anyway, this rule generally applies to words that, again, have more than one syllable and a few other components. In this case, they also follow what's called a CVC pattern, or a consonant vowel consonant pattern. In addition to that, when the accent or the stress is on the second syllable, or rather the final syllable of the word, this rule will apply. And the rule being, if the suffix you're adding happens to begin with a vowel, so if it's an A, if it's an E, if it's an I, if it's an O, or a U, right? If the suffix begins with any one of those letters, then, again, checking to make sure first that it fits these conditions, that 1, it's multisyllabic. Okay, it ends, so the last 3 letters should follow the CVC pattern, and I'll give you an example. And also, if the final stress is on the last syllable. Let's take a quick look at the first example that I have. Control. Let's do this one. I like this word. All right, control is my example word. First, let's see if it's multisyllabic. So, control. I count 2 syllables in this example, control. Great. And just for measure, I'm just going to count 1, 2. I know it's multisyllabic. I'm going to rewrite the word just so I don't have that in the way. Okay, we know it's multisyllabic. Sorry, it appears that my camera crashed in the process of filming, so I'm hoping that we can continue where I left off. All right, now, referring back to what we just did, we looked at the word control, we broke it up to make sure that it is in fact more than 1 syllable, which it is, it's 2. And I can also see it ends with a consonant. Okay, control, the stress is on the end. And, well, okay, if I want to say I was controlling, let me go ahead and switch that color up just to provide a little bit of distinction so it's not all muddied together. Let me go ahead and switch over to my pen. I want to say I'm controlling this iPad using a pencil and my finger, right? Okay, well, I can't write it as control plus the word ing. Yeesh, that is sloppy. Because, as the rule dictates, I do need to double that final consonant. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my base word, which is control. I'm going to take that final consonant and say, okay, well, I'm adding ing, and ing, so well, I, the first letter of the suffix, is a vowel. So I know this rule applies, and I'm going to go ahead and double that consonant, and then I'm going to append my suffix. Oh, gosh, I knew I had another example. And of course, nothing. Oh, begin. There we go. Can you tell I'm good at thinking on the fly, huh? All right, let's go ahead and write down the word begin. First thing I want to do, again, as we did in the first example, is check to see, okay, is it more than 1 syllable? Begin. Alrighty. I have begin, I count 1, I count 2 syllables. Perfect. All right, let me rewrite that just as before. I want to say, oh, someone asked me, have you started the book? And I'm like, oh, I'm beginning to read it this weekend. All right, well, I guess I can just take ing and add it to the end, right? Okay. Oh, wait a moment. So, beginning, final consonant, begin, stress is on the end. ing, well, I is a vowel. I know I need to add double the final consonant. So let me rewrite my base word. Let me go ahead and double that final consonant, and then I'm going to add my suffix. All right, really quick, what I realize now is I neglected to inform you as to what I meant by the consonant-vowel-consonant pattern. It looks like I checked at the beginning for the number of syllables and the stress. However, I did not pay attention, or rather I have not covered rule number 1. So let's scroll over to rule number 1, which again, if the word ends in a consonant-vowel-consonant. So let's go back to our first example, which is control. Now, when you're checking for a consonant-vowel-consonant, again, you just have to remind yourself, well, what's a vowel? It's an A, E, I, O, or U. If it, however, is not one of those 5, then it's a consonant. All right, let's do a quick check. And again, you're only looking at the end of the word. You're not looking at the pattern all the way through the word itself, from the beginning to the end. Instead, just the end. All right, so R is a consonant. O, I believe, is a vowel. L, of course, is a consonant. Looks to fit that CVC, or consonant-vowel-consonant pattern. And I believe the other example we used was begin. Let's try that one. So I'm going to rewrite begin, and we're going to only check the ending letters. Here we have G being a consonant, I being a vowel, and of course the N being a consonant. So it also fits that rule, rule number 1. Okay, so just to reiterate, what we discussed today was when you would need to double the consonant of a multisyllabic word, right? If the suffix you're adding happens to begin with a vowel. Again, there are 2 parts to it. First, you need to check to see if the end of the word you're looking at follows the consonant-vowel-consonant spelling pattern. And again, it's got to have more than 1 syllable. In addition to that, the final stress is on that final syllable, regardless of how many syllables there are. I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen recording, barring any other issues with the camera. Hopefully it doesn't crash. All right, if you found this video helpful, I would very much appreciate a like, and if you haven't already, I would appreciate if you were to subscribe. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Anywho, I look forward to working with you on another video, hopefully to continue discussing additional spelling patterns in English to help refine the craft, as it were. All right, thank you again.